Okay, well, good morning, 8th grade. I hope you all are doing well. As you begin this new week, we are beginning a new lesson, 11.7, and this is what's called cube roots. Okay, not Rubik's Cube, but cube roots, and we're on page 478 and 479. You will want to look at the book, I think, if you're gonna follow along here. So think about a number here, right? We've been doing this, 36, right? If we take the square root of that, we say what times what is 36? Well, the answer is 6 squared, right? 6 squared gives us 36, so the answer to this problem is 6, right? The square root of 36, the square root of 6 squared is 6, okay? Now, we're going to do, so that's a square root, okay? So think about the word square here as in x squared. Okay, now this is where this lesson goes to the deep end here. We have now a cube. And what do we have if we had a cube? That would be like if it was 4 centimeters, cubed would be 3. So a cubed root, okay, is going to be something like 4 to the third. But when we take the cubed root of that, we do the square root sign, but then we add a 3 out here to the left of that. So a cubed root sign is going to look like this to whatever number we have. So if it has this little 3 right here, that means that it's cubed. Now, to find something that's cubed, let's say that we had the number 8, right? We say, what is the cubed root of 8? And this is the best way I think that I can explain it, is to give an example. What's the cubed root of 8? It means what thing times itself 3 times. 1, 2, 3, right? Square root is only like, remember, 6 times 6 equals 36. That's our square root, right? Over here of 36. But this one is cubed. So when we do this 8, we got 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So the cubed root of 8, the correct answer is 2. Okay, so now we have a whole nother chain on this table to work through. Okay, so if you look at that page, you see that example. Now, the really trippy part is that when you have a cubed root, okay, you can have a negative number. Remember, in the square roots, we could never have a negative number, but this is a check. That's doable. Why? Because look what happened if we had negative 2 cubed, right? If we had negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, this times this is positive 4, but then times our negative 2, the answer is negative 8. It works out, right? So the answer here is negative 2 for something that has a negative inside of a cubed root. Now, it's not true of a square root, only if this is cubed, if the inside then can be negative, and then that leads to a negative answer. Okay, super important. If they give you one, let's look at example 1 here. So this is example 1, and they have, what is the cubed root of 125? Okay, now what I would do is, if I were you, is I would just start on your calculator and try a list, right? Have 1 cubed, which is 1, 2 cubed, which is 8, 3 cubed, which is 27, 4 cubed, which is 64, 5 cubed, which is, and when you type that in the calculator, you'll see it's 125. Okay, and so all we have to do there is say, yep, we punch that in the calculator 5 times. If 5 cubed is 125. Okay, so this kind of list over here, you're going to want to make, it's actually one of the homework problems. So if you do that first, on homework problem, it's number 2. Okay, so I'm just going to write that out. I would do that as you start, okay? Now, sometimes, if we keep going here, we have 6 cubed, which is 216, 7 cubed, which is, I have it on my calculator because I don't have it in front of me, 343, right? So now we have these. Now let's go on to the second part of example 1, which is part B here. So in part B, it says find the cubed root of negative 216. So all I do is I come over here to this chart and say, hey, there's 216 right there. But this is a positive 216 for a positive 6. So what's my answer going to be? It's just going to be, the 6 is going to stay the same, right? Because 6 times 6 times 6 is going to get 216. But it has to be a negative 6. Why? Because the answer here is negative, so the answer here will be negative. Okay, so when we're taking the cubed root of a negative, then the answer itself is going to be negative. Okay, now on this one, let's look at example 2. Okay, I'm okay however you want to do this. You can do it two ways. So you have the cubed root of 70. Cubed root of 70. Okay, that's not one of them, right? We had 4 cubed was 64, and 5 cubed was 125. Now, obviously, 70 is in between those two. So what they want you to do in the book is to say 4 is less than the cubed root of, I just need to start over. The cubed root of 70, which is less than 5, right? That's really easy to do. You have the chart. You just figure out where does this guy fall in the chart, and then you write your answer with 4. See 4 cubed over here, 5 cubed down here, and 70, this cubed root of 70 is in between. Now, what you can also do to solve this is you can punch it in your calculator. Okay, so on my calculator, there's a little button that allows me to put in something beforehand, where I put in the number, type in 3, and then hit cubed root, and then hit 70, and I know that it's 4.12. Okay, that's what happens when I punch it in the calculator. So your calculator should be able to do it. On mine, it's by the square root sign or by the power sign, the one that looks like this. It's for me, I have to hit second and then hit that button. Okay, but I have to do that after I've already hit the cubed. So I have to hit the 3. That means it's cubed. Then I hit second, and then I hit for me is that arrow, but underneath it, it shows that it's the one that looks like this. Asterisk, like that. Okay, that's what it looks like. This is what you're looking for on your calculator right here. Either says X or has a little star in front of the square root sign, and then you type a 3, and you do that first, and it will replace that with a 3, and then you type that button, and then you type your number next, okay? So let's do another one like that. What happens when it's negative? So when it's a negative number, let's try this one right here, the cubed root of negative 130. Well, that's cool. So remember, 5 cubed was 125. 6 cubed was 216. So clearly, this is falling between those guys. But again, look at this. It is negative. So it means my answer is going to be negative 6 is less than the cubed root of negative 130, which is less than negative 5. Okay, that came from over here. The 5 and the 6, it's between them, but it's negative. And so then I rewrite it the other way. Or I would say negative 5 is greater than this guy, which is greater than negative 6. Okay, so pretty straightforward, not too confusing. When you go, on example 3, I would just use a calculator. Okay, so if you don't have a calculator, type it into the Googles if you want to do that. Now, we can do the same kind of simplifying thing, so turn with me to example 4. Okay, we can do the same kind of thing that we did with square roots. Let's say what they give us the cubed root of 2,700. Okay, we have the cubed root of 2,700. The key part is to do our factoring. So let's factor this guy into all of his parts. Okay, so he ends in 100, so I know he's divisible by 100, right? And I know that that's going to be 27. So 27 is 9 and 3, 3 and 3. Okay, and then I see that this over here is 10 and 10, which is 5 and 2, 5 and 2. Now what I'm looking for here is I need 3, okay, because this is a cubed root. In order to pull something out, I have to be able to pull out 3 things. So you see this 1, 2, 3. So that means that is 3 cubed, which I can take the cubed root of that and get 3. Now look over here. Look, I have 1, 2, 1, 2. I can't do anything. Whereas I could have done something on a square root. I can't do it now. So my answer, I pull this 3 out, and I get 3 times the cubed root. What was left? All these guys added or multiplied together was 100. So if you look at their example, that's why they get 3 cubed root of 100. You can leave it like that. Don't feel like you need to write it as a decimal. I'll take that as an answer. If you write it as a decimal too, I will probably try and solve it. So let's look at example 5. And maybe the last one that we look at today. Okay, example 5. 7 times the cubed root of 1080. Okay, now I got to take this 1080 and I say, it ends in a 0. So I'm going to say it's divisible by 20. So I'm going to do 180 divided by 20, which is going to give me 54, which is 9 and 6, which is 3 and 2, which is 3 and 3, which is 10 and 2, which is 5 and 2. Okay, now let's do my thing. I got to remember how many I have to find that match to count. I have to find 3 of them. So here we go. 1, 2. Ooh, look at that. So now I have a 3. I can take the cubed root of 3 cubed and get 3. So I have a 3. Ooh, and then look over here. I have 1, 2, 3 2's. So I can take the cubed root of all of the 2 cubed, which is 2. So now I take these guys that are on the outside, 1, 2, and the 7 that I already had, and they all multiply together. 7 times 3 times 2. And now I'm left with the cubed root. What's left? Just the 5. Right? I used everything else up. Just the 5. So what's 7 times 3 is 21 times 2. And 21 times 2 is 42 times the cubed root of 5. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the final answer. 42 cubed root of 5. Okay? So again, one of the most important things to do is to make the chart first. I'll give you a hint on numbers 19 through 27. All of them are perfect. There's no decimal, okay? So if you're listening closely, just remember that. 19 through 27 come out perfectly, okay? So we're on page 480, okay? This is 11.7, and our homework is for today 2 through 40 even, okay? 2 through 40 even. Good luck on doing that. I know you guys got it. I miss you all, and I hope you all are having a great final week. We're in the last week. We'll have a test, and we will be done. Mr. H is over and out.